Toronto, Indiana. No Kawhi Leonard sitting out the second night of a back-to-back. And Kyle Lowry, first game back after missing the last 6, paying immediate dividends. Toronto takes it.
Look at him, showing his leadership right there, Chris.
Victor Oladipo, not his best game. 6 for 15 from the field, 16 points, hitting that jumper. Indiana takes the lead with the Bojan bucket.
Then Powell said, let's play a little D to get out some easy transition buckets. And then Kyle Lowry has put a little Lowry's on it.
Wait, aren't they the ones supposed to have tired legs tonight after
supposedly
back from last night's game?
But now
Allegedly.
they're sharing, and they're letting it rain.
Fake news? Okay.
Toronto 10 for 18 from three-point range in the first half. Second half, there's Siakam running the break, one of 8 assists from Kyle Lowry.
He was hanging from the rim.
12 points, 10 rebounds for Siakam. Lowry, we've seen that so much in his career. Look, he's saying he's grabbing my arm too, and I'm still hitting the shot.
Ooh, is that the surge protector?
Yes, we're seeing that more often, protecting the rim and then hitting the open jumper.
7 of 9 from the floor for Ibaka.
18 points for him. And Chris Boucher knocking it down. Toronto shot 17 for 33 from three-point range. Their bench scored 52 points. And it's been a couple of years that we've been hearing about the Toronto Raptors bench having this kind of production. 8 different guys scoring double figures. They're now 8-2 when Kawhi Leonard sits, and now they're the first team to 30 wins this season in the NBA. That bench, a huge part of it.
Well, think about this. They scored 121 points against the number 1 team in the NBA in opponents' points per game. That's pretty darn good when you can do that. Obviously, having 8 guys scoring in double figures is part of it. But when you shoot 52 from the floor, 52 from the three-point line, 94 from the free throw line, you're having a good night.
Yeah, you're having a good night. Everyone's buying into sharing the basketball. And normally, though, Chris, when your superstar goes down, people try to do too much. I just think the way this team, from top to bottom, coaches realizing their roles. So when someone is out the game, someone else steps up, and then you bring back an all-star caliber guy like Kyle Lowry, he just carries his weight.
30 assists tonight for
30
Toronto.
assists, and 8 of them from Kyle Lowry. And something we've seen when Kyle has been out, it's not necessarily that first unit because Fred VanVleet's excellent, but with the second unit, they lack that point guard. To have Kyle Lowry step in without Kawhi is a huge luxury.
Well, it's a huge luxury to have an all-star caliber player back, but a lot of times when guys come back from injury, they try to do too much, where like tonight is Kyle took his time. Only 10 shots tonight, only 6, at halftime. So his first broken play, long rebound. How do you lose a guy like Kyle Lowry off a loose rebound? It's hard to do. He knocks down one of those threes we talked about. Now here in transition, you get a good half-court stop. You're pushing the ball down court, transition one-on-one defense, stop the ball. You don't stop the ball. You get the and one, you go to the free throw line, knock down your free throw. Now half-court set. This is the paces I'm talking about. Now you direct traffic, make sure everyone's in their position. You tell the big moves to come set a good screen. You turn the screen slowly. Nice pocket bounce pass so the big fella can catch it and finish the play. That's the leadership. That's the patience of having an all-star type player back like that, not trying to do too much but leading the show.
Certainly the Toronto Raptors leading the way in the Eastern Conference. Big weekend for them. Win over the Milwaukee Bucks and over the Indiana Pacers. Washington, OKC in action as well. Russell Westbrook.
Ooh, okay, all right. Kind of quiet tonight. That was what, leather pants? Jacket?
Yeah, for him, that's subdued.
Quiet, yeah.
The game, loud when he hits this 3 from the pass from Paul George.
I like it.
But the first quarter, it belonged to one Bradley Beal. Paul George, excellent defender. So is Steven Adams. Doesn't matter. 12 points in the first quarter for Beal. Part of a 16-2 Washington run.
You ever think that maybe in Beal's mind, without Wall being there, he's not thinking about, it's maybe John's time to get a shot, so I won't take this shot. He's got more freedom maybe mentally.
I like it, Coach.
Jeremy Grant from the DMV gets 3 of his 17, the and 1. And Otto Porter, welcome back, coming off the bench for the Wizards, providing a spark.
Come on, Otto, they need you. They need you.
Paul George, 20 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. Westbrook, A triple-double in the third quarter. Finished with 22, 15, and 13. But the Wizards see them ahead by 8 and pushing it. That's Otto Porter again hitting a big shot, and Beal stepping back for 3 more.
Well, sometimes you need to go to the bench maybe to wake Otto up a little bit. Uncle Jeffy knocks one down, so it's like the freedom, to Coach's point, everyone played with tonight.
Bradley Beal finished with 25, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. This is just the Wizards' first road win in their last 9 road games. In fact, it's their first win in OKC ever.
Ever?
1-9 franchise record when visiting OKC.
This was a huge win for Washington from the standpoint of when you think about the season, you go, wow, what a disappointing season Washington's having. When you look in the standings, they're 3 games out of being in that 8th spot in the playoffs. So big win for them.
Speaking of those bigs, Jarrett Allen plays big for the Brooklyn Nets on both ends of the floor. And so does Montrezl Harrell for the LA Clippers. I think we're seeing this theme here, right?
More hustle and more hustle.
And the hustle from the young fella. If you don't know his name, commit it to memory. John Collins running the floor for the Atlanta Hawks. That's up next on Game Time. Out of Minnesota, Tom Thibodeau reportedly out as the president and head coach of the Timberwolves. According to the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, Ryan Saunders looks like he's in the running to step in as the interim head coach. What do you think of that decision, 3D?
I like it a lot. Obviously, his dad kind of setting the way for him and being around the franchise pretty much his whole life. And I think Coach being young and understanding what Cat and Wig and this young team's about. Derrick Rose is having a phenomenal year, comeback year, so to speak. He's been a part of that movement, working out with him on days off. So the question for me, Coach, is what advice can he reach out to someone like yourself to help him with in-game coaching decisions, things of that nature? But being able to relate to the players, knowing the system, I think he's ready for it.
First of all, we have to realize that they fired one of the top 5 coaches, in my opinion, in the NBA. Tom Thibodeau is a teacher. He's a game coach. He wins basketball games. So to make that decision, something was going on that we obviously don't know right now. The relationship with Saunders and the owner is the father connection. Flip Saunders was a very, very loyal person to the owner. And the owner, I think, always appreciated it, will never forget some of the things that Flip did for him along the way. I know this. Flip made him an awful lot of money at one point on one major decision that he had to make. And the owner, I don't ever think is going to forget that. Right. And as a result, he's seen his son pay the dues. He respects what the son has done, respects the son and father, and therefore he's given him a chance.
Well, according to the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, their source on Ryan Saunders being who Glenn Taylor wants as the head coach long term. So he's hoping that he can earn that spot. But we also have reports from multiple sources that Fred Hoiberg is in consideration for either the GM or the head coaching spot. So we're hearing 2 names out there. It's interesting because Fred Hoiberg was in Chicago following Tom Thibodeau, now could possibly follow him in Minnesota.
And they have Scott Layden still, I believe,
yes, Scott Layden's
still there. And Scott Layden gets along with everyone.
Yes.
Remember his pedigree, his background, coming out of that San Antonio program, a lot of people were after Scott Layden. So I think I hope Scott Layden's given a chance. If they bring Hoiberg in, can Layden and Hoiberg work together in the front office? That'd be something to look at.
Certainly a situation that is just now developing in Minnesota. But as we see this, you see Tom Thibodeau, like you say, a great coach in the league. Why make this move now at this point in the season?
Well, obviously, we don't know exactly what's going on behind closed doors, but to Coach's point earlier, the way our league is going, Cat has a direct line to the ownership. We know Wiggs just signed his new contract. Most of us around the NBA were saying to ourselves, what's taking this team so long to be further along when you look at Denver and other young teams who are winning and playing top-notch basketball? Lately, they're 5-3, they're playing good. Cat's playing out of his mind. Maybe they wanted to pull the trigger now, Coach, to get ready for maybe some more trades possibly before February.
Certainly an interesting situation that we will keep you updated on as the night progresses. Popular players in the world hadn't been matched in years. In this episode of Storytime with Shaq, Bro Parrish talks to Diesel about that game and his relationship with Yao throughout their careers.
Tonight, the Rockets doing battle with the Los Angeles Lakers, and it's not just a game, it's a happening. I'm telling you folks, everybody who is anybody in the Houston area or in Texas is here tonight to see this battle. It's the first matchup ever between Yao Ming and Shaquille O'Neal.
What do you remember when you're first stepping in the circle with Yao Ming the first time you two played each other?
Knew nothing about him. Knew he was 7'5", 7'8", so you know, we got to Houston and yeah, I'm like, okay, they're trying to do like Rocky IV, Apollo Creed, all this and that. They want to give him the fanfare. So I said, okay. So, I wanted to give him a little finesse. I wanted to show him all the smooth. So I get on the post and I go right there. He blocks it. Crowd go crazy. Well, you got that one. You 7'8", you're supposed to block it. Get another move. He blocks it. Third time he blocks it. Now I'm mad. Now I got to go in the playoff mode. Now I got to turn the power, turn it all the way up. It's the first time I got my shot blocked 3 times in a row. But what gave me the super confidence is, hey, you done killed Patrick Ewing. You done killed David Robinson. You neck and neck with your favorite player, Hakeem Olajuwon. He's a young kid. Turn it up. Go into that mode. But it was definitely a fun battle between me and him. Definitely respect him. Definitely respect his culture. I go to China 5-6 times a year. Whenever I'm in Shanghai, we always have tea. We always have great conversation. I just wish that he didn't have those injuries that he had. I would have loved to have more battles with him. He's probably the only guy that really tested me. And he tested me because he was 7'8", and he was hard to move. He couldn't stop me, but guess what? I couldn't stop him either. I put him in the category of a king. Like, hey, King, you can't stop me, but I know I can't stop that fadeaway. And he was the only guy that would catch it in the post and look at me. He just looked like, y'all just look at me, and then I'd come and try to block, and he just shoot right over me. Whoop. I'd be like, damn. But the funny thing, the first couple of times, China, language barrier, I never knew he spoke English. So one day I hit him with a nice bing, bing on the baseline. Ha ha! Shot the boom. He's like, nice move, brother. And I was like, you talk English? He's like, yeah, talking. I was like, why you didn't tell me? He said, Shaq, you never talked to me. I was like, man. So after that moment, like, we, really became close.
Shaq, every game we played remind me of the old saying that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Thank you for that.
And I was honored to be on the same stage as him during Hall of Fame weekend. When you talk about the history of basketball, long after we're gone, hopefully this conversation will still be around when East meets West.
Cool moment during that Hall of Fame ceremony. You actually got to put the jacket on. He was struggling. What happened exactly when he was trying to put on his jacket?
Well, he's a big dude, and when you get really big and you get older, you start to get stiff like a tree. So I'm sure his shoulders are kind of banged up a little bit. So I said, let me help you out, brother. But he's the only dude that makes me feel small. They say he's 7'6", but he's like my favorite convenience store. He's 7-Eleven all day. He's 7-Eleven.
Talk about his impact globally just on the game of basketball.
He's done a lot for China. He's done a lot for the game of international basketball. And, I don't think there's anybody bigger or better that could have done the job. When I go to China, everybody mentions Yao Ming. It's like a god over there.
It's incredible to see a guy half a foot taller than Shaq. Brendan, you played against Yao as well. What was it like? You're a 7-footer. The first time you step on a court with a guy half a foot taller than you when you're used to being half a foot taller than everybody else.
It was incredibly different for me because I'm used to being taller than everybody else, or at least being eye level. And with Yao Ming, it was something different. He was so tall. He had a height advantage. And something that was weird to me was I literally could not see the ball coming up the court when I was behind him. So, guys would be like, why didn't you call it the scrim? I couldn't see you. I really couldn't see him. And so Yao presented a lot of challenges, especially trying to guard him. He had some very good moves. He had counters. He had spins. He had some step backs. Did I make that? Okay, I got a couple of highlights off on Yao, but for the most part, it was very hard for me to guard Yao Ming because he really didn't have to jump much, and he kept the ball high. If you really watch Yao in his highlights, he just has that ball and he's moving it here, and you respond to his fake so much because he keeps the ball high. He's incredibly tall. He was very skilled, and he had a lot of stuff in his game, and Jeff Van Gundy did an excellent job of what I would call using weak side duck-in, something that we don't use nowadays in the game of basketball, where they would run a screen and roll on this side of the court with Tracy McGrady. And I would have to respond and come off of Yao's body. And then he would just duck in that lane and get big and catch the ball. And there was nothing I could do a lot of times. Playing against Yao was very challenging.
Griff, when you look at someone like Yao Ming and you think of his career, and it was a great career, but cut short due to injuries, how great could he have been if he would have stayed healthy?
Yeah, and I think about how good that Houston Rockets team could have been. They had the 07 team, I think, won 22 games in a row with T-Mac and Yao. And both of those guys had really significant injuries. I think that year only one of them was able to play even 60 games. I think Yao played 66 maybe. T-Mac may have played like 55. But they weren't ever able to stay on the court together. But when they did, they were so truly elite. We were really robbed of seeing the best of that team as well. The other thing that really stands out to me is when the legend of Yao is being told by Shaq, Yao will have been 8'3". He started at 7'6", and he called him 7'11" by the end.
That is pretty funny. I mean, I guess for Shaq, he's not used to looking up, so then he just adds inches to that, right? Well, that's a former Rocket great. The ascension up the MVP ladder for current Rocket. We'll tell you who's moving on up. I think you know who it is. That's up next.